Hey guys, this is Dennis from Dennis Does Everything. Just got my 96 Prelude engine pulled. There's the car over there. There's the engine. Let me see if you can see that. There's the flywheel and clutch. I was amazed that there was still meat left on that clutch. I'm pretty sure that the whole thing had never been opened for the whole 340,000 miles that were on the car, because where's it at? The inspection plate. Oh, maybe it's on the engine. Yeah, there it is. See this rubber piece here? I am pretty sure that if anyone had worked on this and taken it apart, they probably would have lost that. So I'm thinking that that engine and transmission has never been apart before, which is pretty cool. But I've been kind of stressing over what to do with this car, because the interior in it's pretty ratty. It sat in the field for a few years before I got it, and animals got in it and stuff. And despite that, I mean, so the car is kind of a contradiction, because everything's there, which is nice. It's not missing a bunch of parts or already been messed up by somebody like me. I got a leaf in my hair. But at the same time, everything pretty much all needs replacing at once. So I'm kind of been stressing about going back and forth over how much work I really want to put into that one. But the main reason that I'm making this video today, and this was going to be probably chopped up and put together in little pieces, is I am going to pick up a F-Series engine this morning. I had this engine down here that I got from Pull Apart. Somebody had got in there. This is not the original valve cover either. Somebody got in there and taken a bunch of cam caps off there, which really annoyed me, because they're in a matched set. So even if I pull one off of another engine, it still won't be matched. So anyway, but it did have the intake manifold, just didn't have the throttle body. So I thought I might do something with it. I wasn't sure, and my buddy Dustin said, hey, he needed an intake manifold. I'm like, well, I'm not using this, but I really didn't want to part with it. So I wasn't sure if I was going to give it up. And he was talking about how that, so he's doing an engine swap. He's putting H22, which is actually, that's an H22 there, but hopefully the one he's putting in is a bit better in condition than that. But anyway, he's doing an engine swap, going in his 4th gen from F-Series to an H-Series, and I guess because his F-Series had some problems with it, he was kind of annoyed with it. So I said, hey, would you trade the whole engine, the F-Series engine, for the intake manifold? I mean, he's not going to need it after he gets the H-Series working in his car. And to my surprise, he said yeah. So I thought, well, whole intake manifold for a whole engine, I mean, that's a no-brainer, even if I wasn't sure what I was going to do with it. Well, then, so I got that F-Series engine waiting for me, and meanwhile, in storage, I haven't even had a chance to video it yet. I've got a 3rd gen Prelude rolling shell that I was going to use for. I'm kind of unsure what I'm going to do with that one too. I was wanting the pop-up headlights and the mechanism, and possibly to use the whole body, but I'm not sure. But make some kind of mid-engine car or something. I've been gathering parts to make a mid-engine car, kind of like the Midlana, but I want it to look more like Prelude, or have the dimensions more like Prelude. And so I'm kind of going back and forth whether I want to use the whole shell or not. And that one, someone was going to do an H swap in that 3rd gen, but they gave up when they realized that it was just going to be way too much work, and they have to make or buy new mounts and stuff. So they decided to get a car that already had a H-Series engine in it, because it's a lot easier to do. So 4th or 5th gen Prelude. Well, I was going back and forth as to whether to just cut up that shell or just go ahead and finish the engine swap, fabricate my own motor mounts for it and so forth. And I also was kind of thinking, since the car came with carburetors, I don't know if you can see those right there. The shell came with the old B-Series carburetors that were on it. And so I thought, well, it'd be kind of funny and and just to stick the carburetor, see if the carburetors would work on an H series, or F series, kind of the same thing. In theory, they should work, even though it's a bigger engine. And then I wouldn't have to run as many mods to the fuel system and everything like that for that third gen Prelude, since it's only set up for carburetors. Well, then this YouTube challenge comes up, and they say they kept changing their minds. I hope they don't change their mind again after I get started on this. But they said at first it was going to be a budget build, and then like a build off. I guess they're going to race. I'm not really into racing. Maybe I'll take it up somewhere and try it. But they were going to go to a track or something, I guess. But it's kind of interesting that what they said was, well, we're going to, instead of doing a budget build, it's going to be, instead of a budget, they're going to say just build whatever you want, but H or F series. And, or any, well, actually not H or F, H, F, D, whatever you want, but non-VTEC. And that's the thing. So this one back here from my 96 is non-VTEC, but it's H23, so it's pretty good anyway by itself. It's pretty torquey. And this, well, that's an H23 as well. This one is an H22, so it has VTEC, but it's missing too many parts to use it right now. It's missing cam caps, and I finally got a VTEC solenoid for it and stuff, but that was all stuff that was already pulled off it. But so this F series, though, is a single overhead cam. I wasn't sure what I was going to do with it, the one I'm going to go pick up. And then so this challenge came along, and I thought, well, you know, what if I just made the most ridiculous build that I can think of? And so take the F series single overhead cam and stick the carburetors on it. Because, okay, so the challenge was, get this, the challenge was limit to injector size. And I'm thinking, okay, so there's a limit of injector size, or you have to use specific injectors or something, just build it around those. Well, they didn't say that the injectors have to actually be doing anything. So what if I just build the carbureted engine? And actually, I hate carburetors, by the way. Every time I work on carburetors, I'm like, never again. But somehow I keep ending up doing stuff with them every once in a while. The last carbureted car I had was an MGB, actually, and that was a whole other story. But anyway, I keep rambling on. So maybe what I'll do is maybe get the engine running with the carburetors, and then maybe boost it, and maybe add my own little like DIY engine management system, just to squirt a little bit of extra fuel in to make up the difference between the carburetor and or between what the carburetor is wanting to put out and what it needs for the boosted setup. And if I did that, I could even run a lower fuel pressure potentially, because I wouldn't be needing as much flow rate, because I would be getting most of the flow from the carburetor, and I would be able to just so I could use a lower PSI, and I wouldn't have to modify the fuel system as much on that third gen rolling shell. Well, anyway, so today I'm going to go pick up this F-Series engine. I'm going to have to do something to it, some rebuild. I think it's got a head gasket blown as well. But I'm also thinking, so I was looking up the specs, and the stock specs for that are like 8.8 or 8-to-1 compression, something like that, which are decent for a road car, but not really that great for a performance car. Well, I started playing around with some engine calculators and stuff, because I know there's some combination from some of these parts from one of these engines that will give me a better compression ratio. And I found it, I think it's going to work, is that if I just take the rods out of that, which are slightly longer, the H22 has a shorter crank and longer rods to make up the difference. If I take the rods out of that, they're stronger from what I read. Now, I have no experience with these. I've built other engines before. This is my first foray into building H and F series engine, Honda engines. But from what I've read, the H rods are stronger than the F series rods. So number one, I'd get a stronger rod. Number two, it raises the compression. Using the longer rod is going to raise my compression ratio to 9-something to 1, which you might think is strange to want to raise my compression if I'm also going to boost it. But the idea is that I'm going to get more efficiency. So if I have a more efficient engine extracting more power out of each stroke, then I won't need to run as high a boost pressure, I hope. Now I will have to run high octane gas, but I was going to run high octane gas anyway. Hey guys, what's up? We are on the way to Enid to pick up that engine. I grabbed some other parts to bring Dustin on the way. However, I also so I was going to get a flex plate from this guy Sean for a transmission tester jig, and I thought he had just the flex plate, and I saw the transmission. I said, well, how much you want for the whole transmission? And he said $80. I said, well, alright. So this, if all goes well, I'm going to mate to the engine I'm going to pick up. Ultimately I want to put a manual transmission in that 3rd gen Prelude, in the red one, but it's only set up for auto right now, and I haven't found a source for the pedal box. It needs a special pedal box, so I'm just going to take the easy way out right now and just throw that automatic in there just to get it working. But unfortunately, I had to take my socks off, and now I'm driving with no socks on, and the reason why is this thing still had transmission fluid in it. So lesson learned: if you're going on a road trip and you're going to be picking up random unintended car parts, picking up transmissions before you get 20 miles into the trip, you might want to bring an extra pair of socks. Alright, I am on the way home. We've got the F22 loaded, and just got another hour and a half or so to drive and get back with it. I had a nice time over at my friend's house while we were loading this up, but I didn't feel like taking any video right then because just wanted to get this done. And he also hooked me up with the head, the other head that he didn't use from his swap, which has the cam caps that I'm missing. So that will be helpful. Maybe I'll be able to build up the H22 I've got, or maybe I'll build a H23 VTEC. Alright. Well, we're finally back. Got the engine and the head there. And it's always a long drive back from Enid. I stopped to eat, and that's part of why it got dark. But now I gotta hurry up and get ready, because my wife and I are going out dancing, and she's actually already there, so I gotta hurry up and get cleaned up so I can join her. Hey guys, what's up? I got the engine back. Now I need to get it off my car, which is a bit of a logistical problem because my driveway slopes really far down, so I've actually got to first pull the engine back this way and stop right on the crest without losing control of it, and then switch around and lower it down these ramps. At least it'll roll right into my driveway here, so that's good. But hopefully I can get this off of the car without killing myself or something. I haven't decided yet whether I'm going to just try to pull it this way by hand first, or use the come along from this side. I have to put in an anchor point if I'm going to do it from this side. But then for lowering it down, I think I've got a boat winch that I made a stand for, and I think I can put it between the two front seats and use that to slowly lower it down this ramp. Hey guys, what's up? So, since I'm doing this by myself, I had to improvise and come up with a way of getting this off there by myself. And what I did was I built this triangle here, so it's hitched. I trimmed this board down so it would fit in my trailer hitch. Then I realized it was going to be too floppy, so I secured it over here to this engine stand. This pretty heavy, and it's down near the bottom, so I'm not worried about the stand tipping over. And then I'm going to pull this off of here with the come along until the back wheels just reach the ramps, and then I'm going to stop and reconfigure so that I can get it down safely from the other end as well. Probably put a winch on the front side of it too to let it down slowly. I had to take a break to mow because it looks like it's going to rain, so it's all hot and muggy, and we got all the humidity from the rain, but we haven't got any cooling from it yet, so it's pretty intense out here. Alright, well, we got it unloaded. It turned out that I couldn't get it by myself, so I had to have my wife go in there and man that boat winch from the inside while I guided it down the ramps. The problem is that the caster wheels will tend to want to go random directions as it's coming down because of the way the weight distributes. And if someone wasn't down here guiding it, then it could go right off the ramp, which obviously would be really bad. But with her help running the boat winch down, I was able to get it down, and now I have an F22 engine to play with. Hey, so I thought I was done for the night, but the guy that I was thinking of buying the turbo from, finally I saw he had got back to me, but I'd missed his message, so I'm going to pick that up. If it looks good and works and all, I'm going to be getting a turbo for $100, which I think is a pretty decent deal. It would be a better situation if I had a wastegate and a blow-off valve for it, because I still got to buy those or find them or something. But having the turbo as a start and gives me some idea of what I'm going to be working with in terms of plumbing it in. Alright, well, I got the turbo for $100. I don't really know much about turbos, but this one seems to be in good shape. The seller said it came off of a Porsche 911, and the only thing is it's a little smaller on the diameter than I was expecting. And after I got it home, I realized, well, duh, a Porsche has two of these, I'm sure. And it's really too bad I don't have two of these, because since I've got two carburetors, it'd be kind of cool to put one per carburetor. But, you know, I'm not really looking to do anything with this except play around and learn how to set these things up. So if it is a little bit on the small side and doesn't make as good a performance as it could, that's still okay, because it's going to be a learning experience. Hey guys, it's been a few weeks since I got the F22 engine in. I haven't really had time to do very much on it. I didn't even have time to edit the previous videos, that's why they're going up late. I did at least get the storage area for my transmissions finished. I moved the stuff out from under there and put a high shelf in there, and I can actually put my axles and steering rack stuff, long pieces like that don't fit on a regular shelf. I can put them on that, so that's nice. But I'm a little bit bummed out at how slow going it's been with these engines. I just sometimes go through long periods where I just don't have time to come out in the garage, so at this point I'm it's not looking too good as to when or whether I'll be able to actually finish the single cam 4th gen, turbocharging it. But hey, I'm gonna give it a try. If I get it done in time for the challenge, I'm not gonna be competitive racing it, but it might be just nice to build it and come up there. But I did find out one thing that's pretty cool is my old PC water cooling parts. I can actually repurpose them for a water-to-air intercooler. I wasn't really wild about building an air-to-air intercooler anyway, because it looks like an awful lot of plumbing and pipes and stuff. And so if I go with a water-to-air core, which I was gonna try to fabricate one, but I'm thinking it might be better just to buy one that's already made for the actual part that goes in the intake. But for the cooling, for the outside part of the cooling loop, the part that goes to the outside air, this large CPU cooler should work just fine, and I've got a 12-volt pump, so should be good to go on that. And they'll definitely be a lot easier to plumb in than an air-to-air intercooler, which has bigger pipes. That's it for now. Really just trying to get the garage cleaned up, get the spaces ready to actually build some stuff. I also picked up this motor here that I can use for to build an automatic transmission tester and use it for something to spin up the torque converter and use that to bench test an automatic transmission like one of these two down here. Oh, I almost forgot though. So last weekend I went to visit my good friend in the family. Unfortunately, his wife was like a grandmother to me. She's on hospice care. It's very sad. But while I was up there, I picked up these parts from him. Which this is a DIY auto-tune ECU, fully programmable. And the reason I had these, and this is the tester for it here. The reason I had these was I used to have an MGB, and I was going to convert that to fuel injection. Well, I never got around to doing that. Anyway, since I sold the MGB, I traded these parts to my friend, and he was going to just give them back to me because we were both like, well, we can't remember what it was I traded for, so he was like, if he couldn't remember, he'd just give these back to me. But he mentioned needing to go pay his cell phone bill, so I said, well, at least let me pay your cell phone bill for you in return for this back, and so he agreed to that. So basically, I got a ECU and relay and wires, more wires and so forth, all for basically the price of a cell phone bill. And I also had some injectors in here. Brand new injectors. Unfortunately, for one thing, they won't meet the challenge because they're just a little bit over. They're like 500cc injectors or something. But also, there's only two of them. There's one, and there's number two. Now, why only two? Well, the MGB engine was kind of designed before manufacturers really understood how to make heads flow well. And it actually has the exhaust and the intake on the same side, and it's Siamese. The two cylinders for each pair of cylinders, and the 4-cylinder for the MGB engine is fed by just one intake runner. And so that's why if you're going to put injector bungs in the intake manifold for an MGB, you only need 2 big injectors instead of 4 small ones. However, these aren't going to really do me much good for that F22 engine. It's kind of interesting to have those. I forgot I even had them. And also have a external fuel pump. I could use this to boost the stock fuel pump. Since that car was carbureted, it's not going to have enough fuel pressure by itself. And got an nice external pressure regulator. I don't know if I'm going to need it because the fuel rail on the F22 should already have that, but it's nice to have. And I had totally forgot that I had this, but not only did I buy all those other things, but I actually had a wideband O2 sensor and a gauge for it. I guess I had forgotten that I was going to put those onto the MGB. So that actually takes a load off my mind, because now for that F22 engine, this one right here, I will have a wideband O2 sensor to put in it and a gauge so I can know if I'm tuning it right. And I've got an ECU for it. One thing though on this ECU is I actually soldered this all myself. It was a kit. It was like 120 bucks new. And I didn't really stop to read the instructions. I just kind of grabbed all the parts and saw where they went and soldered them all in. And I actually put in too many parts. There's some parts that are on here there's some parts that are optional. Some of these components are optional depending on what kind of sensor you have for your crankshaft position or camshaft position, etc. And so I'm going to need to look up the documentation on this online and take out some of these parts. But hopefully I can get something going with this. Really, in this box I've got pretty much most of what I need to
to make a tunable fuel injected setup for that F22. All right. See you guys later.